Mr. Secretary, thank you for this interview and welcome to ERT. So Greece recently completed its third program. How would you define right now the state of the Greek economy and what are the prospects?
I think it's a very big accomplishment to have completed the third program. When you look at where Greece was during the crisis and for many years after, it's enormous progress to be growing again, to have achieved fiscal targets that were difficult, some said impossible, and now to see unemployment starting to go down is a very good sign.
While the recovery is underway, there are still challenges ahead. Are you concerned about the high primary surpluses or the debt burden in 20 years from now?
I think it's going to be a challenge to maintain the surpluses that are required for the next 3 or 4 decades. And it's probably not the end of conversations about kind of the future of the Greek economy. But it's a very different trajectory to be at a place that's stable and improving compared to where the economy was during the height of the crisis when it was collapsing.
Mr. Secretary, what is your take on the recent debt agreement?
So I've always thought that there needed to be a different approach to the debt than some of the other international partners were comfortable with. The IMF took the view and the US took the view throughout the crisis that the debt burden was simply not sustainable. And the reason that one has to assume such large primary surpluses as far as the eye can see is because some of the underlying debt issue has not been addressed. I've always thought that the right solution was to combine fiscal changes that put the Greek economy, public spending, on a sustainable trajectory with structural reforms that would enable competition and re-energize the Greek economy with debt relief. In the end, there's been progress in each area, but 5 years ago, had everyone sat down and agreed to do what needed to be done in all the areas, you probably would have seen more debt relief along the way. That wasn't where other partners were, and I think that in the future there probably will need to be discussions about the debt burden. But for the moment, the rescheduling of debt has shifted the problem out to the future. Greece has access to the private markets, and the Greek economy is growing. So I think for the next period of time, it should continue to be a period of strength.
How Greece can ensure that it remains on the right track and that the growth becomes at some point sustainable and strong?
During the economic crisis, the fiscal austerity put a huge burden on Greece's economy. To take that much activity out of an economy that's in recession, depression really, defies the rules of macroeconomics that most of us have come to accept. At the same time, it was the only way to get international agreement to the kinds of measures that would give Greece the ability to survive. And I would have gone a little lighter on some of the short-term austerity. I think that in the medium and long term, there has to be a kind of responsible approach to fiscal policy so that things don't get out of control again. As Greece's economy grows, it ought to provide some more headroom, both to invest in the needs of the people. With more people working, that's going to create more tax revenue. But one of the structural problems is that Greece's tax system has never really been fixed. If there's more income, you also need to get more revenue, and then you can meet more of the needs of your people and still have better fiscal balance. So I think that the challenge going forward is going to be not to retreat from the kinds of reforms that actually produce progress. You can't go back and create more fiscal activity during the crisis years. Don't over-adjust by spending money you don't have going forward and unraveling the progress that's been made.
How would you characterize this reform effort that lasted for so many years and came with a high social and political cost?
Look, the social cost was high. I mean, we acknowledge that social cost as being a problem in real time. I don't believe there was an alternative that would have brought the kind of support that Greece needed, from any of the international institutions. But it was at a cost. I think going forward, the solution is going to be to create enough growth so that there's job opportunities, so that young people who didn't get into the economy when they came of age have a chance to get back into the economy now. That's not going to be easy. There's still difficult work ahead.
Mr. Secretary, thank you very much.
Pleasure to be with you.